Felicitations, adventurers. Welcome to Over the Table. I am Taylor Felicity. I've scoured the internet, but mostly Reddit, for stories about TTRPGs for us to provide our unsolicited opinions, advice, and commentary. Today, I am here with Melanie and Zavery, and we are going to be in the spirit of Easter. Today, the theme is all about stories about death and resurrection in TTRPGs. Let me do this shout out for my guests so you can follow them at other places. Oh my gosh,
Peeps!
Peebs!
A peeps in
Peebs!
the
Wild
chat!
Peebs
Peeps!
appears! Hello, Peebs. Hello, Sir Heckalot, also in chat. And then also Mila with the resub, ready for the death stories. So I'm very excited for this. You probably already know me if you're watching this. I already said I'm Taylor Felicity, and I'll be reading most of the stories today, although Melanie has brought a couple. And speaking of Melanie, do you want to introduce yourself to people who don't already know you?
Sure. Hi, my name is Melanie Andrews, pronouns she, her. I'm a woman in the TTRPG space. I have been a player for, God, I don't even know how many years now. I haven't GM'd, but I feel like I have some strong opinions about what GMs should and shouldn't do. So I'm excited to give my correct opinions today.
Yes. All of us have correct opinions. This is the ultimate, we are the council overseeing all of Reddit and TTRPG space today, so all of our
Everything we
opinions are
say,
correct.
true
And
and
we
right.
have lifetime appointments, so there's nothing you can do about it.
Yes. And
Savory.
all decisions are final.
And all decisions are
No
final, so
appeals.
don't even try to appeal. You can boo us if you want, but you can't appeal. Savory, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Zavery. Yeah, she, her. I've been off and on in TTRPGs since like college, I think. But they always like my friends and I always get distracted, and so we never get to finish them. So a lot of like half campaign.
Yeah.
A wide variety of experience, though, I feel.
That's important. I mean, I mostly do one shots, so that's that's kind of the same thing. That's kind of the same thing as a half campaign. It's just that
Yeah.
like I know I'm not going to finish a campaign of this. So just
Yeah.
from the beginning, I'm like, oh, let's just
Listen,
do a one
there's new
shot.
stuff all the time. Sometimes they go too long.
Constantly, there's constantly new stuff. Also, Xavier, I don't know if your captions are showing up, so you might need to refresh your tab, or if it doesn't have, are they showing up for you in that tab when you're talking?
Um, Let me see.
You may just have to refresh the tab, and if you haven't already, you may have to grant microphone permissions to it. So, if you click the little like slider in Chrome, then it should say like grant microphone permission.
Yeah, it's not giving me a slider. Hold on, maybe I will.
While you're doing that and fidgeting with things, I will talk a little bit about the stream, stuff that people can do, all kinds of different stuff. So I do have a fundraiser going right now for the Palestine Children's Relief Fund, or the PCRF. There's no, like, this isn't a charity stream, so there's no, like, incentives for donating other than the fact that it's a really good cause that needs money. So you can, normally where you would be able to click, like, subscribe and all that stuff, there should be, like, a donate button, and you would donate, like, right through Twitch, and it goes to the fund. It is a foundation or a fund that provides free medical care to children in Gaza and in the West Bank. So very needed right now with the genocide happening in Palestine. There are other things that you can do in chat if you want to interact with us a little bit more. If there's a moment that you would like to see on TikTok or YouTube Shorts or anything like that that you think is funny, you can use the command exclamation point followed by the word marker. Or you could also do exclamation point, hey Taylor. I think you can also just do hey. Maybe not hey. Maybe just hey Taylor. But all of that'll make a marker for me to come back to later and make a clip of that moment. You can also, if you want to boo a person in a story, or us, I guess, you can type boo in chat with up to, I think, 5 O's, it'll work. And if 5 people boo within a certain amount of time, it'll trigger a boo sound that you all will hear, we will hear, and it's very funny. Similarly, if enough people type yay, cheer, or clap in chat within a certain amount of time, there will be a cheering sound. And now actually there is like a thing in chat that'll be like, this requires this many more users to trigger. So it's like within, I think, like 8 minutes or something if enough people do it. You can also use channel points to boo and cheer all on your own. So if you're tired of trying to wait for people to get along with what you think should be booed and cheered, you can just use channel points. And there is also a red flag alert, which, let me see, can I do it? We'll bring up a little red flag on stream. If you are a subscriber, you can also do that just on your own, and just type !red flag. It didn't work for me. I don't know why, but it should work. Melanie did it earlier, so I think the command is working. Maybe it just knows that I'm not oh, it might be because I'm the streamer and not a subscriber. And I think that's everything. So, because the theme for today is death and resurrection, all of the stories that we're going to be reading do have something to do with character death, just as an overall trigger warning. It is only character death. None of the stories that I'm reading have anything to do with the death of real people. It's all characters. There are maybe a couple of stories that have more specific warnings, so before I read those, I'll say, like, oh, this has, this thing. But if you don't want to hear about characters dying, log off the stream. It's gonna be the whole thing today. Also, the last thing I'll say before I start getting into reading stories is, if you have TTRPG stories of your own that you would like us to read sometime, you can submit them to Over the Table to be read. You can email rollforfelicity@gmail.com, or there is a form, or if you're on Tumblr, you can submit an anonymous ask, or a non-anonymous ask. That is fine. Oh, okay. Is my audio cutting out for stream or is it cutting out for video? Melanie, I guess you don't know.
I'm assuming it's not cutting out for stream.
Okay.
I have stream up, but
yeah,
I
don't know.
I can still hear it. It did cut out one time, but I think
I mostly can understand what you're saying. If I need you to repeat anything, I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know if that keeps happening. Okay, the hazards of streaming. I think that's all the pre-stream stuff that I wanted to go over. Xavery, did you get your captions working? I guess I should check in.
I think so. Are they working now?
Yes, they are working now.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, the first story that I have, I don't have a content warning for this other than it's a lot of characters dying. But I will note, yesterday I saw a TikTok, I didn't watch it, but the podcast Eldritch Podblast, which is a similar kind of idea to this, which is they read Reddit stories about TTRPGs, they posted a TikTok talking about the same exact post. So I didn't get the post from them, but we are both going to be talking about the same thing. And after this, I'll go watch and see what they said, because I was like, as soon as I heard them read the title, I was like, oh, I'm going to do this story, and scrolled away. So this story is from r/D&D. And the title of the post is low-level D&D meant to be this brutal? I've been playing with my current DM about 1 to 2 years now. I'll give as brief a summary as I can of the numerous TPKs and grim fates our characters have faced. At level 2, we made it to a bandit's hideout cave in an icy winter-locked land. We were TPK'd by giant toads in the cave lake at the entrance to the dungeon. Retrying that campaign with the same characters, we were TPK'd by bandits in one of the first encounters. We just missed one turn after another. Total combat lasted 3 rounds. Nearly died numerous times during Lost Mines of Phandelver. It was utterly insane how the Red Brands could use double attacks when we were barely even past level 2. Eaten by a dragon within the first round of combat. We were supposed to be capable of taking it on as the final boss of the module. It one-shot every character, and the third party member just legged it and died trying to escape. absolutely destroyed by pirates
Oh.
twice. First in a tavern, second sneaking onto their ship. There was always more of them, and their boss just would not die. By this point, I'd learned my lesson and ran for the hills instead of facing TPK. 2 of the party members graciously made it to a jail scene later with me because the DM was feeling nice. Otherwise, they'd be dead. I'm the only level 3 in this party at this point in our current campaign. We're in a lair of death-worshipping cultists. We come across a powerful mage boss encounter. The mage can cast freaking fireball. We're faring decent into the fight by the time this happens, and 2 of us players roll dex saves. We make the saves and take 13 damage anyway, enough to down both of us. The mage also wielded a mace that dealt significant necrotic damage to a DM PC that had joined us. If it wasn't for a friend rolling a nat 20 death save, we would have been certainly lost. We have abandoned one campaign that didn't get very far, and really only played 3. Of all these 3, we have not completed a single one. We have always died. We have never reached level 6 or greater. I've been told don't fill out your character backstory until you reach a decent level. These have all been official Wizards of the Coast campaigns and modules. We're constantly dying, always super fast, often within 1 or 2 rounds of combat. Coming across enemies who can attack twice, deal multiple dice worth of damage in a single hit, and so on, has just been insane. Is this really what D&D is like? Has it always been like this? That's the story. So what do you guys think? Has this been your
Their DM
experience
wants
with
them
D&D?
dead. The DM wants you dead and is trying to kill you.
Yeah, this is fully the DM.
Like, low level in Dungeons and Dragons, it is like really risky because you only have like 8 hit points or 10 hit points or something. You don't get that many abilities. But also, if you're dying every single time, I feel like that's your DM is not balancing it for your. Did it say how many people were in the party?
It's interesting that you mentioned that because I was gonna say this for later, but since you mentioned it, I didn't copy and paste the exact comments because it was kind of a comment thread. But people were asking that. People were like, first of all, why are you the only level 3 character? Like, why are you not all the same level? How many players do you have? They've been playing they have 2 to 3 characters, like 2 to 3 players, but 1 player who really consistently misses games. So mostly they just have 2 PCs, and they're running all pre-written modules. And the people in the comments were like, well, Lost Mines of Phandelver is written for 4 to 5 players. So you're fighting twice as many bad guys as you should be, basically. So yeah, as Avery, I think you're spot on. That's like what it is the DM's not changing the leveling, or not changing the number of baddies and things like that. It isn't adjusting.
Yeah. Yeah, just not changing the challenge rating of any encounter to match the party. Just doesn't care about that. And, like,
Yeah.
I understand that a lot of people have a lot of people want to play and they feel like they can't find anyone to run games for them. And so a lot of people will accept situations that aren't the best because someone's willing to run a game. But there's a part of me that's like, they've done several campaigns, they've tried several different things with this
1
DM.
to 2 years. Yeah, they've been playing with them for a while.
So there's a part of me, and this feels victim blaming, but it feels like maybe the party is into how hard it is, and that's why they keep on playing a little bit. I don't know if either of you are getting that vibe.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, after like 2 TPKs, I would be like, wait a minute, but they keep doing it.
They keep going back for more.
Getting eaten by a dragon, your whole party getting eaten by a dragon in the first round of combat.
And then
crazy.
after 2 years being like, wait, is this normal?
Is this how everyone plays this game?
No.
Has everyone played 30 characters and never finished a campaign, even though you've been playing consistently for 2 years? I'm also obsessed with the fact that mostly it seems like when they TPK, they just like end that campaign. They're like, that's the end. We don't make new characters. We don't. That's it.
Yeah.
That's bananas. Scorched earth. Just
Yeah.
leave it all behind.
That's it. That's all we know. Our characters
And maybe
died.
if you're level 3, just like go around the dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how much of this is the players going into dangerous situations and the DM throwing the situations at them? You know, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
one pirate massacre is one thing. Two,
Yeah, they got killed by pirates in the tavern, and they were like, "We gotta sneak on this guy's ship." That'll.
I love the idea of the pirates like arresting them and sending them to jail.
I am curious as to how
Those
that
like law-abiding pirates.
They
I didn't
were
even think
privateers.
about that.
Yeah.
Like, officer, they're trespassing.
Officer,
Oh my
don't
God.
arrest us. Arrest them.
Guards, to our pirate ship, quick.
We kicked
Oh
their
my
ass in the
God.
tavern, and they're still trying to steal the stuff that we stole. Have either of you
Officer, we
had-
have some vagrants.
Aye, officer.
Officer, me booty. They were trying to steal it.
They were trying to steal our stolen treasure chest, officer. Have either of you had characters die in particularly memorable ways? Or have either of you been in a TPK? Actually, Melanie, I know you have
Oh,
been in a
yeah.
TPK because
Oh, I
I did
have.
it to you.
Tell me the story right now.
So there
Yeah,
was
let's hear
one
from
lovely
Melanie's
summer day
perspective.
that Taylor and her husband came over to mine and my partner's place, and she wanted to run Mouse Ritter for us. And it was a very cute little campaign, it's just a one shot. And we go,
Mhm.
I can't remember, was it in a tree that we were in that this happened?
I think so. It's actually the same. I ran the same module, but it was not a TPK on stream. It's the Temple of the Slumbering Orchid, I think. So it's one of the Mouse Ritter games that I ran on stream as well. And I can't remember. I think it was like inside a tree or inside a cave or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Taylor was playing an NPC who was, I believe, Mike's ward. Is that correct? It's been a while, so I don't really remember the
Yeah,
details.
it was
But
like an ant. Like it wasn't a kid. I feel like word implies child, but it was like a drunk.
I thought it was a little.
No, because they were drunk. That was like the whole thing. Is they were a drunken.
Oh yeah, right.
torchbearer.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Melanie's trying to make this way worse for me.
But
Taylor
no, I meant like
killed a child.
No, I didn't think it was a kid. It was somebody's ward though. It was like somebody's like.
Yeah.
I guess someone's a knight, and then you were like the assistant, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So we end up like finding a scroll that is a magical spell, and none of us are particularly magical in our group. And at a certain point, Taylor's character is like, "Come on, give me the scroll." And rule of fun, like even though Taylor's running this game, like she's also a player. She's playing with us, and we want her to have fun too. So we're like, "Yeah, give her the scroll." And we get into a situation where there's like skeletons and stuff, and then oil comes raining down from the ceiling, and her character uses the spell. Everything lights on fire, and we all die, or we keep on. We rolled poorly.
Yeah.
And we all fucking hate it. Taylor felt so bad, but we had such a good time.
It
was
probably 75% my fault, I think. There are several things that, looking back at it, I should have done differently.
It was not you trying to get us, though. It was, just sometimes stuff happens when you're playing. And that's kind of the fun of it.
Yeah, in the temple, the way that it's set up is that there's this like puzzle, and then there's these monsters that come down and fight you. And I adjusted it so that it was the temple's very Zelda-y. And so I was like, oh, this could be kind of like a mini boss fight. So I had it so the door was like closed until the fight was done. But then there was this fire, this other stuff
Yeah, very
happened, and they like
anti-fire safety.
could not get out, and that was not in the original module. In the original module, they could have just ran away, but that was not how it happened. It was like 2 turns, and it was like, okay, all your
It was
mice are
brutal.
dead now.
That's pretty funny.
And we'd
It's
been
like that
playing
one
for
crypt
like
in
3
Baldur's
hours.
Gate 3 where everyone dies.
Yeah.
Oh,
First
God.
time.
Yeah, it was like that. I felt very bad. I was like, sorry.
But
So you
even
probably
even
never
with the
wanna play with
TPK
me
though, we
again.
talked about
Yeah.
even with the TPK, we talked about coming back and doing, like an alternate reality. Like, what if we had gone the other way instead? Or
Yeah.
like even coming back, same worlds with different characters. I kind of want to do the choose your own adventure. Like, this is what happened if we didn't totally fuck up.
Yeah. Like, no,
But
turn back to page 8.
yeah, but there's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
options. There's always
Yeah.
options if there's a TPK.
Yeah.
And also, as a DM, there's things you can change so that it doesn't happen that way. I think there was actually
Yeah.
just the most recent episode of Dungeon Court. They talked about a TPK where the rolls just were in the DM's favor of like they rolled a random encounter with 11 velociraptors, and the
Oh, I did listen
velociraptors
to
yeah. Then the
That one was
velociraptors
very funny.
rolled very high on their nat 20 on their stealth. But
Yeah.
they got like 44 attacks off
attacks.
before the players could do anything. And so everyone was just eviscerated immediately. And for something like that, a DM could be like, okay, maybe I'm gonna roll individually for each raptor so that they don't
Or
all
have,
get
like,
surprise attacks. And
2
like,
groups
Yeah.
or something, yeah.
yeah,
I'm
do
always
something to modify it to give them a fucking chance.
I always feel sometimes I feel like such a toxic DM when I hear stories like that though, because I am like, that is pretty rad. Like it is pretty rad to be like,
I
yeah,
mean,
our
memorable.
Yeah.
our party, we were like heading
Oh
someplace, there was a
no,
random
11
encounter,
dinosaurs.
we got torn apart by raptors. It's realistic. Xavery, have you ever had a character die
Absolutely
in a significant way or been a part of a TPK?
No. Actually, I'm like such a wuss with that stuff in my like RPG games. I get so like I don't know, like sad about character death and stuff. So I'm like, please don't kill my character unless it's like absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
This one game I actually like pieced out it because it was a Vampire the Masquerade campaign.
Oh yeah.
And obviously those are like very like people die all the time. And I'm like, this is really fun, but maybe not for me right now.
Yeah, I feel that. I think that's
Yeah.
Especially because
fair,
we had a
too.
DM that was very like I don't blame them because obviously it is that kind of like campaign. But they were talking about like killing my character's parents and stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh my
maybe this is
God.
not for me.
Yeah, that is Vampire the Masquerade too. But honestly, good for you
Yeah.
for being like, this isn't for me. Like,
Yeah.
I have to say goodbye. Because so
Yeah.
often people are like, well, I feel bad, and it's like I think it's good to be like, there's nothing wrong with this game. I just know I don't have the constitution for it.
Mhm.
It's not what I want right now. Like
It's not what I want
sometimes
right
you
now.
want escapism.
Yeah.
From
And it was within like the first like 2 sessions. Like maybe if it had been going on for like a long time, then I would be like, yeah, I'm at the part of the story where that would be an interesting thing for my character.
Yeah.
But immediately, I don't know.
Session 1, someone walks up to
Yeah.
you and is like, I'm gonna kill both your parents. You're like, whoa. I just turned into a vampire. Come on. Melanie, do you want to read one of the stories that you brought? So normally guests, I tell people you don't have to do anything, just show up. And Melanie was like, I have things I want to read. So I'm tossing over to you.
Sorry, I think my things are freezing up for me because I
Oh,
didn't
no!
hear most of what you said, but I know you're trying to ask me to read something.
Yes, you can read.
I
You can
have
read one of your
2
stories. Sorry.
Okay. I have 2 stories that I brought that I figured you guys could choose which one you are interested in hearing, or the chat can choose too.
Oh yeah, I
I
can do a
have one
poll.
that involves a crucifixion, and then one that involves eggs.
All right. I'm gonna do a chat poll too. Which
I thought they were both
story?
Easter themed, you know.
Fiction? I don't think I spelled crucifixion wrong, but in the interest of time, yeah, let's just do a 1 minute poll.
Sure.
All right, people in chat, you have 1 minute to decide whether you want to hear a story about crucifixion, which I certainly did not spell correctly at all. Now that I'm looking at it, or eggs. What do we want?
I haven't rewritten these either to make them like more succinct, so I will try to edit on the fly, but I can't promise that it will be good.
That's
Because
fine.
one of the stories is written pretty well, and the other one just like they throw in a lot of like just in
Oh yeah.
places, and I'm like, that's unnecessary.
Get rid of these. So far, Ta has no preference, no votes.
Wow.
That's ready for anything.
Should I even read one?
I can't even decide either.
Let's
Like, they
end the
both
stream.
sound so good, but just saying, would you like to hear a story about eggs? Sounds so funny.
It's
well, not the
can
one
I'll read you
it's
the
not one
title
read
of
before.
it.
Okay.
So the one about crucifixion is he literally crucified my character, and the title for the egg one is a not safe for work one, and it's the Starfinder Egg Orgy.
Oh, those are both.
Oh man.
I feel like you have to do crucify. He literally crucified my character.
Okay, sure.
But
Yeah,
I'm
if
gonna,
no one's voting,
we'll
or
throw
we
it
can wait
back
till the
over
end of
to
the
you.
poll.
Yeah. Oh, the poll's over. It was only a minute.
Okay.
Oh, Tag wanted to
okay.
vote. What was your vote gonna be, Tag? Is it the crucifixion one?
Is it egg? Take.
Tag
I've
says
read these
crucifixion.
stories too. Okay.
Okay.
He literally crucified my character. So my first D&D campaign was almost also my last. I was 18 or 19 in college, and my friend wanted to DM a campaign. He asked me and a few others to play along. We were a human ranger, mutual friend, a human wizard, me, a dwarf barbarian, and a tiefling rogue, the DM's wife. Session 0 happens without much interest until we settle down for our first long rest. They're using session 0 wrong here. They actually mean session 1, because session 0 is like talking about what the campaign's going to be. Whatever. We're sitting around telling stories, old fantasy style, when a mysterious figure approaches. At first, he seems like a kindly NPC. He shares food and drink with us. After a bit of idle chat, this random character suddenly stands up and attacks us. When we ask to roll for initiative, the DM chuckles and says, "Oh, this isn't a fight. This is all scripted." He proceeds to destroy our team, shatters my staff, melts the ranger's bow, and buries the dwarf alive. The session ends with our spirits broken and no one really wanting to continue. Yeah, exactly. After the session ended, the DM took me aside in private and says, "Okay, I get you guys didn't like that, but I need your help. I'm going to need you to lead the team and keep us on track. You're a writer. You know how stories have to go."
Oh my god.
I try to explain that this isn't writing, there are no main characters, and I'm not sure this is a good idea. The guy literally tells me, "If you don't, I don't know how we're going to continue. Side note, that's fine. You shouldn't continue with this."
It sounds like they didn't want to.
Yeah,
we don't
they didn't want
play
to
anymore.
Yeah.
So like that's on you, my guy. Begrudgingly, I agree, and we go into session 1, session 2. I basically lead the party like Gandalf with notes from the DM. The problem is, at the end of every session, the DMPC, the mysterious traveler who stomped us, shows up and kicks our asses. Literally every time. Incredible. A few sessions in, and the party is getting annoyed by it. We end up in a town where we get split into 2 teams. The ranger and I get bum rushed, and my character is literally hung on a cross and lit on fire, just as the other members of the team reunite with us. Quote, "The wizard feels the skin melt on their flesh before a flash of light blinds everyone. When it dies down, the wizard is laying in a pool of robes, sobbing, traumatized. Now the main character shifts from them to the tiefling." End quote. I remember the party being
What?
silent except for the DM's wife. She smiled and laughed. I went to the DM immediately after, and with his wife there, he says, "Well, that's what you get for being the main character." Later, when we're alone, he says, "Oh, she was annoyed by it. I didn't tell her it was my idea, but now you don't have to lead, and she gets to, so win-win." I stopped playing with the party after that. I didn't really think it was worthwhile to literally be crucified for doing things I was asked to do.
That is not
That's
a
wild.
TTRPG.
Yeah, I was
Insane.
gonna say when you mentioned the like, oh, you know how stories thing goes. I was like, as soon as you started the story, I was like, this guy does not want to be a DM. They want to
No.
be a novelist. Like they
Yeah.
want to write a book. Do that
Which he should
instead.
do. Yeah, don't involve
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And not a good book. Like, even if that was in a
Yeah.
book, I don't think
No.
I'd really be that into it.
No.
At the end of every chapter of the book, the same person comes in and literally kicks everyone out.
Every chapter has an
incredible.
author's note that's like, my wife wanted me to do this. my wife said I had to write it this way.
This wasn't my decision, but my wife wanted it to happen.
I don't know how the wife didn't realize that like the person who she's married to, she knows what he's like, right? So she knows that he must be scripting all of this and that the other player isn't choosing to be the main character.
Yeah.
A thing that isn't a thing in
Yeah.
TTRPGs.
Right. That's not real.
The main character
Oh my God.
shifts is such a strange thing for a DM to say. Main character shifts to the tiefling.
Yes. A wild thing in the game. In the comments of this post, though, the poor original poster is like, people are blaming the DM's wife and stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, it was the laughing at the torturing of my character for me. Like, they were not the best people." and is like, in hindsight, I shouldn't have hung out with them before or after this.
Yeah.
Yikes, yikes, yikes.
Yeah. Fair
Wild.
enough.
And like, I get that sometimes the thing of like, oh, this isn't a fight, it's like scripted or whatever, is heinous, especially if you're having all these horrible things happen to the characters. Like, if you're like, you're getting buried alive and you're getting your stuff shattered. Like, but if you are going to do something that you want to be more of a cinematic as a DM, I think that's fair, used very sparingly, to say, hey, this thing is happening before you have time to react. Or even just talking to your players. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of times, like, people, like, DMs will get really frustrated because they have, like, a speech that they want the big bad to give, or they want to have, like, a moment for this like, a character that's an NPC. And player characters will like interrupt and be like, I attack them while they're fighting or talking or whatever. I think it's fair for a DM out of character to say, hey, I have this thing in mind. I've been really looking forward to this bad guy explaining things to you, or like having this speech. You're not going to get attacked during it, like, out of character. Can you guys just let me do this thing? Like, and saying, here's this thing that's gonna happen. I think that's totally fair. And I think players sometimes can get, like, excited or even, like, afraid that if they wait too long to act, that something really bad is gonna happen to them. Like, being like, if I just let this guy talk, he's gonna fucking kill us. And then the DM's gonna be like,
He's
why
gonna
didn't you
bury
do
me
anything?
alive.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But something like this is not that situation at all. It's like, oh, this isn't a fight. There's no initiative. I'm killing you.
The DM being like, I'm actually she's gonna have to let this happen. I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna kick your asses. It just happens. There's no stopping it.
Maybe that's why it was the session 0, because it wasn't really role play. It was just the DM.
Yeah.
Just
I guess it
leaving.
is setting the tone for the campaign. Yeah.
But
Bad.
I agree. Like sometimes the DM should be allowed to do like a big cool thing. But I could see it happening at like the climax of a campaign where like characters are like ramping up for like the stakes have to be there, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Mhm.
But in the first one, just to be like, no, we're actually not playing a game. I'm just describing it to you.
Stories are.
Everyone gather around for a story
Yeah.
with your OCs.
It's so funny to call it a session 0 too, because like this group would never have a session 0 because this DM does not care what his players want.
Yeah.
He does not care what they think or want to do.
Yeah.
Everyone is like, we don't want to play this game anymore. And the GM's like, okay, but can you do this thing? Otherwise, we won't be able to play the game anymore. He's like, yeah, we don't want to.
Yeah.
We pretty much seemed like we didn't want to do this. What was the person attacking them? It was just some random the person who
It just seemed like a kindly NPC who was like, they were like they settled down for the night, and this guy shows up to like share a meal with them, shares a meal with them, talks with them, and is nice, and then just gets up and kicks their ass.
buries them alive. That's such a brutal way to do it. Like, just I know it's probably a magic effect or something, but I'm just imagining the DM being like, and then this kindly old man gets a shovel and begins to dig. He picks up the dwarf and places him in the hole. Like, no, you can't do anything. It's not your turn in initiative. I do have a story I feel like that segues into this really well because it's also a DM. It's not as egregious as what you just read, but it is a DM being like, this is how things will go. This is from RPG Horror Stories, and the title is DM Says, Yes, but it's not allowed to be cool. A while ago, yeah, so it's already a great start. A while ago, I was in a 5e campaign playing a lawful evil wizard. Think more sleazy, used car salesman than murder hobo. Previously in the campaign, we'd been given a deck of many things from which I drew the moon and was granted 2 wishes. Fast forward a few levels. After a long journey, we're facing down the lich. Facing down the lich we've been chasing, who's not the BBEG. I edited this down a little bit, so there was a big explanation of this, but I was like, it's not that relevant. So they're facing down a lich who's not the BBEG. 3 rounds in, however, the lich uses power word kill on me. I was level 13 and had about 80 max HP at the time, so it was literally not possible for me to survive this attack. Needless to say, I was killed on the spot. Rolling with it, I ask the DM in private if my wishes are still available to me in the afterlife, and if I can use them to resurrect myself. If they had said no to this and left me dead, that would have been the end of the story, and I would have been a little salty, but for the most part, understood. Instead, they agreed to it, but said I wasn't allowed to join back with the party for a bit. All right, good start. So I start planning. I pitch an idea where, having died, I use the opportunity to become anonymous and begin helping the party from the background, gathering allies, calling in favors, and in general, setting up for a climactic battle, which would be revealed in a classic army rides over the hill in the nick of time to combat the BBEG's army scene. The DM, however, refused this idea. They told me I was only allowed to resurrect myself during the final boss. I wouldn't have leveled up at all in between, and I would have no context for anything that had happened between then and now. I literally had to just fall out of the sky to help out. To make matters worse, when we got to the final session, the party was facing down the BBEG's army, and in the nick of time, an army of allies comes in over the hill to combat them. The exact scene I had suggested, only without me having anything to do with it. Instead, I fell out of the sky outside the door to the final boss when they approached, not even during the fight, and was just sort of there for it. That's the whole story. Thoughts?
That sucks so bad. Man. Oh, that DM sucks. It's just like, that is a cool idea. It's mine.
No, it's mine. Like,
I think I will do that, actually. You fall out of the sky, you don't know shit, and you're naked.
And you're level 13, and everyone else is level 18, by the way.
Oh my god, insane.
I don't know what level the rest of them were, but...
That player had such good ideas of, like, how they're still playing with the party.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
It's a very cool idea.
People are so stupid.
That
I can't believe that. I can't.
yeah.
Someone's giving you a gift and you're like, yeah, but also,
But also
no.
not you. You're not in
Not
this.
you. Hey, look, everyone, what I found. You made this? I made this.
And who's that cresting over the hill with the friendly army? It's the kindly old man who killed you.
The DMPC.
It's my
And he's ripped as
DMPC.
fuck.
He's super hot.
He's
so
fucking
everyone
gorgeous
gets a
and
boner.
so strong.
Everyone looks at him and is
Everyone's hard.
turned on. Everyone loves him, and he's
man.
mommy's favorite.
Yeah.
And then you
We should
fall
just get all
out
of
the
these
sky
bad
naked.
DMs together in a party, right?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Play with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Who would DM
Not like
them
cool
though?
people.
Should it be a really bad DM or should it be a really
They would
good
all try to DM, which would be very fun.
It would just be a
Oh,
battle
yeah.
royale. 6
Just
DMs
them as
enter, 1
people.
DM leaves. Yeah.
We'll give you all your choice.
That'll
of
solve a lot of
weapon.
things, I think.
They just take turns going like, no, your character is dead instantly.
Actually, your character is dead instantly. It's like the
That's what
worst
it
version
reminds
of a
me
GM
of,
game.
like, yeah, it reminds me of like preschool on the playground where you're like playing per town and one kid is like, but actually, my character has invincibility and can fly and can punch you with fire. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But actually, you didn't hit me, and because I'm
Yeah.
super fast and I moved to the side. You just didn't see it because I'm so fast. Tag says in chat,
yeah, I was gonna say
brings
that.
up this is the opposite of the thing where Quinn in Monster Hour says the phrase "as a fan of your character." Totally, that's 100% what this DM is doing. Is be like, as someone who despises your character and
As an
doesn't want
op
you to
of
be
your
in this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Doesn't
this
want you to do this
DM is
campaign
like
anymore.
jealous of their player
Oh yeah,
for some reason.
100%.
Because why would he power word kill you to begin at level 13?
He knew it would kill you. He knew you had no chance.
Yeah.
What else would happen? You'd be gone. He wanted you gone.
It is funny that the DM, like the monster manual, whatever, like the DM's guide, whatever, there's a spell that, like, as a DM you can have that's just like, pretty much you're gonna kill a character. You can just choose, you can give a character, if it's a high level monster that's a spellcaster, you can give them this spell, and then it's just like, yeah, your character's dead. Because the DM, there's no way to meta, like, not know how much HP your character, like, your players have. You kind of know. Like,
Yeah.
so you either are gonna burn a 9th level spell and have it do nothing, or whatever level it is. I think it's 9th level. Have it do nothing because you know your NP or your player characters have more than 100 HP, or you kill them. Like, can definitely be used in a cool way, but also
It's a
definitely
setup.
not.
Mhm.
Not a cool way.
Mhm.
Okay, I think I'll do this one next. We're getting close to when I wanted to take a break, but there is, so on my, as far as like one-shots that are on this channel or like campaigns that are on this channel, I don't play D&D on stream anymore. I play D&D off stream, but I just am not like a big fan of Wizards of the Coast. And there's like other games that I want to highlight.
Why?
I don't know. Google the Pinkertons and get back to me.
Oh, okay.
That's a good starting.
Interesting.
Look up Magic the Gathering.
Pinkerton. That sounds like a cute name. What could go wrong?
Pinkerton, like a nice little Easter pink.
Yeah.
But on Reddit, most people when they're talking about TTRPGs are talking about D&D. So it's hard for me to find stories, especially if I'm looking for like a specific theme that is not D&D. So I did find something kind of cool, which there were a couple of threads on r/RPG. One thread that I'm gonna read some like the comments with. One of the threads is titled "Favorite Death or Downed Mechanics in RPGs," and the other one, the title is just "Favorite Death Mechanic." So it's basically in r/RPGs, people being like, "Oh, hey, here are like some death mechanics in games that I think are cool." So I pulled some different ones of like things that people said that were like different ways that characters can die or be taken out of combat. And also, if either of you have, excuse me, if either of you have games like other than D&D where you're like, oh, in this game this is the death mechanic, that's kind of cool, or if a game doesn't have a death mechanic but like what happens when you're like taken out of a fight, or et cetera, retiring characters. So I'm gonna read some of them. The first one is someone said, I like 7th Sea's mechanic that PCs can only be killed by named characters, never just some random like guard or something like that, because it incentivizes making really terrifying villains and using them a lot. Which there's a couple games that are like that. I think one of the Star Wars games is also like that. Like characters can only be killed by a a villain or something like that. I forget what it's called, but it's like a certain level of villain. In Sentinel comics, a character who is out has an ability they can use to help the team. It keeps them engaged in the scene and thinking about how they can turn the tide, which is cool because Sentinel comics is the same like world as Sentinels of the Multiverse, which is like a card game. And in Sentinels of the Multiverse, it's the same thing. Like if your character goes down, you have like on the back of the card some things you can do. One person said, I'm a big fan of instant death at 0 hit points, which is just, you know, not what D&D is. So that's one way to do it. Another person said, I prefer mutants and mastermind stuff. It's almost impossible to die accidentally. You have to be hit twice while you're already down to die. I personally like it because it reflects how in superhero stories characters rarely die. And the person also said, I never really got why people prefer death, because for me, it's the most boring consequence. I either have to make a new character, in which case my time has been wasted with the other one, or I have to wait to be resurrected. Being maimed is a lot more interesting. I have a couple more that I'll read, and then we'll talk about like what we think are cool and other games. But skateboard wizards, your board breaks and you need to get a new board. In the meantime, you are a poser, which I which I really like. Liminal horror.
That's the harshest one yet.
That's the harshest one of all, being labeled a poser. Liminal horror, receive too much stress, you survive but are forever changed. Not with like a mental illness, but which a lot of games do that, which I'm not a big fan of, but a legit weird change to your character, like you now have a black crown of fire over your head only psychic people can see, or you are alive but you are sure this is not your universe, you ended up in a parallel one. Urban Shadows has a death move for each playbook, like placing a devastating curse on your killer, passing on your signature weapon, or getting everyone else to safety no matter the odds. In Houses of the Blooded, you always get your final words and someone always hears them, which I really like that. That's very cool. And then the last one that I pulled is Death in Space has a mechanic for what your death is supposed to be. I.e., when your character dies, they narrate a possible future that has been erased from existence because space is a cold vacuum that doesn't give a shit about your player character's destiny. It's real, brutal, and sad, but funny in the ways characters deal with trauma. For example, like the way you're supposed to die is like you're like a different way is like kind of more gruesome than the way that you did die. So a character being like, I'm glad I just got shot. That looks like it would have been worse. And it says it's a nice way to send off a character into the void. So yeah, what do we think about those other things? Do we have ideas for cool death mechanics? Are there other games that you've played that have cool death mechanics? Thoughts?
No, I don't know. I like the one where only named characters can kill a PC because, well, obviously DMs can get around that by just naming everyone. But I feel like it gives an incentive to like have like consistent NPCs, maybe like give your player characters like a nemesis or something like that, where I feel like it opens up like some cool ideas.
Yeah. Like I think the problem with death in a TTRPG is if it doesn't have any weight behind it. Like that definitely helps with that of like just getting killed by like a dude. That doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel good with this character that you spent time with. And like sure, that's life, but that's not this that's not a game that you're playing. That's not a
Yeah,
satisfying game that you're
right.
playing.
There's no like payoff to the story if your character just dies in a dungeon to a goblin. Like,
Unless the goblin has a name.
yeah. Unless
You
you know this goblin and you've been hunting.
the DM makes you roll a constitution check as when you're on a break, and then you choke on a peach pit or something, and you
And the peach pit
Yeah.
was
well,
named Emily. and,
Yeah.
it killed you.
Yeah. What's in Mercies today?
Yeah, I think something that I've heard, and I feel like I've heard this from multiple sources. If it's a specific person who said this, then I'm not giving them credit. Apologies. But that with character death, you kind of, the harder it is to create a character, the harder it should be to have that character die. So like a lot of like OSR games, which a lot of times are like Mouse Rider is an OSR game. Like it's very easy to die in that game. But also character creation can take like 2 minutes. Like you could just like roll, like literally on the Mouse Rider website, you could just click a button and it's like, here's your character, you know. It's very quick. So I think I agree with that mentality. If you're playing a game that you know going into it is like character creation is quick, you could die really easily, you have a motivation to like want to do things other than just fight people head on, I think it's kind of cool in that scenario to have it be like anything could kill you. But with D&D, it takes like so long to make a character.
Yeah.
And so long to level the character up and so long for like anything to happen to them. So I think unless everyone is on the same page of like a random person can kill this character, which can be cool, like that there can be situations where it's like you feel upset about it in a way that is motivating for other characters, you know. But yeah, I agree with what both of you are saying. I think everyone has to be on the same page about it, and also like you mostly want death to have meaning.
Right. And with D&D specifically, there's so many like in a universe that has like an astral plane and a celestial plane, there's so many other options than just getting rid of that PC forever
Right.
that I think you can like kind of play around with death while still having like it just means the story goes in a different cool direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think that's true. I've had in my home game of D&D we've been playing for like 6 years, I think, although lately it's been like maybe once a month. We haven't been able to play as much. But kind of early on, one of the player characters died, and I wasn't expecting it. It was kind of bad rolls. It was also kind of not poor decision making by the PCs, but just kind of like non-optimal doing stuff, and then also kind of making some choices to like try something was trying to get stolen from them basically, and instead of being like at a certain point it was like someone's gonna die in this fight if we don't like give this thing up or do something else, and they were like we're just gonna keep fighting, and so one of the player characters died, and it was a really cool moment because like it was very unexpected to everyone that it happened. Everyone was like very emotional about it. It wasn't just some random person, it was like a pretty important like part of the plot, like it was pretty important enemies that did it, and basically they were like okay, we can, none of them had revivify because they were because the person who died was the cleric. It was like the multi-class cleric. So I don't think he
Oh,
even
man.
had revivify yet because he was like monk cleric multi-class. And basically they were like, okay, if we can scrounge together enough money, we can take him to someone who can like do whatever resurrection or something like that. And then they didn't have enough money, so one of the characters is a warlock, and so was like, okay, I'm gonna talk to my talk to my patron and see if I can get some money, and like had to make a big sacrifice to get enough money to save the friend. And then that was like a very cool dynamic because then they were like, I don't want to tell this person what we had to do to like bring him back to life because I don't think he would have wanted us to do that. So it can definitely be like really cool even if it's unexpected. And in D&D, it's honestly kind of hard to fully die. So,
Yeah.
unless, for some of the reasons you said, Savory, that it's like, well, there's like 4 different spells that can like bring people back. You could be on a different plane, all kinds of stuff like that.
There's not a death mechanic in Wanderhome, right? The only thing that I think that is in Wanderhome is like you can choose to stop playing your character.
Yeah, you can just choose to have your character die. Yeah, which obviously you know. Melanie, do you want to talk about your Wanderhome character?
You mean me playing the long game and making my best friend cry?
Yeah.
In our personal game of Wanderhome?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played a little hedgehog woman who was very, very old, and I had never played a very old character, and I never played a character who had like a natural death from old age, and I knew that's how her story was going to end at a certain point. And the playbooks in Wanderhome are just like when you get to, I can't remember what the milestone is that you hit where you get to choose a new trait or whatever from your
when
playbook.
when you participate in a festival, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can either pick a new trait or you can also like say goodbye to your character and choose a new character. And so I chose to say goodbye to her at a certain point at the end of the, what was it, Old Appy's
Old Appy's
festival.
Festival?
Yeah, Old
something
Appy's
like that.
Fair, which was like a whole bumble fest with honey and bee milk and all that jazz. And so I got to narrate to some of my closest friends this really sweet little hedgehog dying, leaning against the tree that she used to go to with like her childhood sweetheart, and then like being reunited with that sweetheart as a ghost. And like I'm trying to keep it together. Taylor has to leave the room.
I did.
Yeah.
That would have been me, just sobbing.
Yeah.
Because you care about the characters, and like giving
Yeah.
them choose the send off, I think is so important. I think
Yeah.
that's really meaningful. It's also very funny that our friend Zay's boyfriend was in the other room, like hearing all of this,
crying. And I also,
because we were like loud, and then we got very quiet.
Yeah. And I'm not like an easy crier. Like I'll cry during movies, but like during TTRPGs, I don't really, like, I'll feel emotional, but I don't really cry. I don't think I've ever cried during a TTRPG before. And I was sobbing. Like I was really, really, really crying. Well, Melanie wrote a fucking letter. Like had her character. My character in Wanderhome was her character's like I don't know if best friend, but like very good friend. They've been friends for like a very long time.
Yeah.
They're both older. And so Melanie had her character like write my character this letter, and I was like, Melanie and I have been friends since I was like, I don't know, I was like 15 or 16 when we met, I think. So to have one
like
of your
17,
oldest friends
yeah,
hand you a letter that's like, we've been friends for a long time and your friendship means so much to me, and being like, they're dead now. It's like, that does hit a little different.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like a targeted attack.
I mean, I wrote a letter for Taylor. I wrote a letter for Zay. I didn't write a letter for Teg's character because I was planning on having the scene with them, because their character was played as a psychopomp and ushers spirits into like the other, where they need to go. So I was like, this is perfect. I get to have like a one-on-one with them. Didn't even think about the fact that like their character would be like, cool. Like I don't have any words. I didn't get a letter from Matilda. I didn't really know her.
Oh man.
Yeah. And like that hits too.
It was good. One of the best sessions ever. That's the last session
That's our last session.
We have not. We haven't
had time to play.
Then.
I was saying to Teg the other day, I'm like, I don't remember my new character's voice. I know I've had him like, he's kind of young and like kind of higher pitched and like up here, I'm
None of
excited
us will
about
probably
things.
remember. It's been
Well,
so
we'll
long.
see.
Just picturing Melanie writing these letters like, no one's getting out of this without tears.
Savory,
You're all going down.
I tinted these with tea and then dried them out in my oven. I then I made them look. I rubbed dirt into them to make them look weathered and stuff.
Mhm.
I was unhinged. I was deranged to make my friends feel anything about this little old hedgehog woman.
She's
She
ready.
conceived of this idea after I killed her mouse herder character. She was like, I know the perfect way to come back from this.
Oh, you're gonna TPK me, huh?
I'm gonna TPK your heart. I think that's a good place for us to take a little break. So we're gonna be gone for like 3 to 5 minutes just to take a little break, get a snack, get a drink, etc. I'll also run an ad, and when we come back, we do have the egg orgy story from Melanie that I'm sure we'll get to. I've got another story that I think I'll do that is a resurrection, pretty gnarly resurrection story, and then also one that is, I'll just read the title now just to make sure people come back. DM killed my first ever character in the first session of my first campaign for breaking his world by accident, is another one that we'll read. So, exciting stuff. Make sure you come
Sounds
back
like
for
a
the
skill
rest of
issue.
More like exciting stuff.
it. We'll see you all on that note in just a couple minutes. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, and welcome to the second half of this episode of Over the Table, which is all about death and resurrection in honor of Easter, which you can probably tell mostly based on Xaveri's incredible outfit. I just wore kind of pastels, and then Xavier came into the call and was like, oh yes, I...
Savory taking us to church, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, actually, Xavier, do you want to tell the chat where your fascinator is from? How you
This?
arrived at
Oh,
it?
I just chopped up like a tool, like one of those like tool skirts, like tutus, and stuck it on with a bobby pin.
Dedication.
Yeah. We have to
Um,
serve. That's what Jesus would want. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I also realized Melanie,
He died
when
for
you
us, so
he died for us to slay. When you earlier in your story, Melanie, were talking about the character literally being crucified, I reacted and said Jesus Christ, but I didn't realize until afterwards. I was like, oh, actually, yeah. Jesus Christ. Speaking of resurrection, the main story that I found that fits into the theme of resurrection specifically, is actually a comment in a thread on r/RPG. And the comment, like the question is, players who have had your characters resurrected, how does playing them after resurrection feel? This story is kind of gnarly, so I'm going to give a content warning for suicide, because the character does kill themselves, although not in a, like, related to mental health way. They sacrifice themselves to like, kill the big bad. And also human sacrifice. So this is a gnarly one. I also do not know what game system they're playing in this. They don't mention the system. It could be D&D. It feels like it's probably not. So this one is, I played in a game where in order to cheat death, one had to sacrifice something in the character to be brought back's place. The sacrifices were never pretty, and part of the ritual transferred the last few seconds of the sacrifice's memory to the resurrectee. The first time, our healer died, and a field full of cows was slaughtered. Not too bad, if a tad expensive. Second time, one of our 2 soldiers died, and the party had to cut short the life of a dying man. They found someone who wasn't going to last the night, drugged him, and killed him while he was out cold. The third time, my character died, and the GM demanded that the rest of the party kill a priest on their altar. I was a blood mage, and we needed my power to perform a ritual to unbind the guardian spirit of the area, so they did it despite my concerns. I was dead, so I couldn't try and sway them. The fourth time, I died again, and the GM demanded one of my character's family members. The party almost did it, but realized we were doing awful things and tried to stop. And then the big bad killed my character's brother, completing the ritual and bringing me back. The final time, this game is like, whoa. I don't know what system this is. The final time, our other mage had died about 2 sessions prior. His player was like away, so for narrative sake, his character died. The rest of the party had been told by the GM it would require a sacrifice of one of us to bring him back. We then realized that if he was brought back, the immortality spell would end. So my which I'm they don't mention this, but I think they must have forgot to mention that there was an immortality spell on the big bad or something like that. We realized if he was brought back, the immortality spell would end, so my character walked into the big bad's throne room to offer fealty to the archvillain. And then I killed myself, casting a transmute air to void spell on the throne room with literally all of my blood. My death fulfilled the cost of the ritual the other players were performing, making the big bad vulnerable. Our other mage woke up with the rest of the party confused and scared. Reluctantly, the party asked our GM what the cost would be to bring me back. He whispered into their ears so I couldn't hear, and they went white as a sheet. I still don't know what he said.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was a roller coaster.
I was gonna make a joke about a field of cows costing the same as like the life of a priest. But it sounds like this DM's doing some cool stuff of like ramping it up. Like
Escalating
each time
it.
I think
Yeah.
that's very cool how they have done that. They have made death mean something. That there's a cost to a life. And I think that's so cool what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I also liked the part where the player is like, the party was going to do this and then realized how horrible they were becoming, like
Mhm.
Yeah, like how far
much
it
they
had
were
gone.
willing to do. Yeah, which
Yeah.
is very cool.
I-
And it seems
I-
like
that's
everyone was
a very
on
cool
board.
character moment. Yeah.
Like, this is a horror story if the players were like, we don't want
Yeah.
we don't want to play
Oh
like
my
this.
gosh.
Yeah.
Like, what are your limits as a person?
Yeah.
What do you guys think the final thing is to bring that person's character back?
Oh, geez. Well, it's something that scared everybody,
Yeah.
and something the player would have definitely objected to.
Yeah, and the other things were already so bad because the previous 2 things were a member of the party dying,
Mm-hmm.
and a member, like the person's sibling die, or like a member of the person's family dying. So I'm trying to think of what would be either a person who was very important to all of them, or the other thing I would think is if it was like an entire like country or like area of people that it's like, oh, or like this many like random people, like if it's like you can bring this person back but like 1,000 random people in the world will die or something like that, I would be like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or like
Mila and
kill
chat said-
God.
oh yeah, kill
Yeah.
God. Your life
Kill
for
this
God.
man. His name is Jesus Christ, actually. Bringing it back around to Easter.
Mila said maybe the big bad would need to come back too, which would be interesting.
Yeah, that is.
Like it'll bring both.
Or
of
I
them
was
back.
thinking maybe if I don't know what the players were doing on their campaign, but maybe it was like someone they saved, or like if they saved like a town or like a child or something like that. And they already spent all these resources saving them, and it's like, well, you can
Yeah.
undo it.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do the. I'm a bitch who lives for drama in TTRPG, so that part of me is like, that would be very cool. I love when a GM. This doesn't need to be like every part of a story, but I do love when a GM is like, there's no wiggling out of this. Like you have a tough choice to make, and there's no third option where you can be like, well, maybe we'll, use this item and blah blah blah. Like sometimes that's fun to like think of a way out of a situation, but I do love when it's like, no, you have two choices and they're both bad, and you have to decide which one you want
A
to go
hard
for, because
moral
it's so good for character development. It's such a good like point on a story. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's rad. What game do you think they were playing?
I have no fucking clue.
I don't know at all.
I
I feel like
mean,
it must not be D&D.
D&D? No. I don't know.
It could be D&D if it was like homebrew, but this
Yeah.
type of homebrew would negate so much healing stuff in D&D that seems like a lot. But people, it's also from
Sometimes people do that.
r/RPG, which makes me think that it's not D&D because that's mostly other games on r/RPG. But
Mhm.
I don't know as many. Like obviously there's like priests and magic and stuff. I don't know as many like magic-y games like that are in this I don't know, that are in this genre.
I mean, either.
Very cool. How do you two feel about games that are like super lethal? Like, have you ever played games where it's like, yeah, like like this is like dark fantasy, or like characters gonna be dying? Either of you have experience with that kind of thing?
No, I'm a wuss.
You did
I
say
used to-
earlier, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to be so much like you, Avery, where I was like very precious about my characters. I think actually the game that Taylor and I were in, that she got her name Felicity from.
Yeah.
We started and I was like, don't kill my little boy. Don't kill him.
Yeah.
I don't want to play this game if there's a possibility of him dying. And it's like he did die at some point, like he came back. And it's
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
so good for the story. And I've
Yeah.
played in so many games since then where it's like I think the ability for your character to die creates weight and creates consequences and creates good story beats too for
Yeah.
just the game in general. But it also makes me care about them in a way that I don't think I do if they're invulnerable.
Yeah.
It does get, because that is the big difference between like a tabletop RPG and like a video game, right? Like there's no game over and you
Yeah.
just try again, where that doesn't mean anything except you like go back and do it again better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I
I
think
do appreciate like the
yeah. Go ahead.
There's something freeing about it, Xavery. Like, I think if you go into a game where it's highly likely that you will die, if you just rip the Band-Aid off that, I think you'll find that you will like it more. Because I did used to be exactly like that, where I'm like, I don't want this to happen. Like, I care. I've put so much time and effort into this character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't want to lose that.
Yeah. I think it can also be cool. The more, which this is not to say like, Xavery, do this thing, but just my experience, because when I started playing the game that Melanie talked about, I was open to my character dying, but I didn't really want it, especially because it was my first ever character that I made, and it like took me so long to like figure out what I wanted to play, and I had all these ideas and things like that, so I really didn't want her to die, at least not like right away. Which is level 1, it's like that can happen. But the more characters I've played and the less of like having a character, like there's a scarcity to it when you first start playing, where you're like, but I only have this guy. This is my only guy. So as I've been able to like play more TTRPGs and like have like a bunch of options to play characters, the prospect of the characters dying is more interesting to me. I have had a few characters die. One thing that is cool is I've played a few games where the conceit of the game basically is that your character dies. There's a game that I played on stream called Going Rogue, and like the climax basically of the character's story, it's based on Rogue One, or inspired partially by Rogue One, that your characters like sacrifice themselves at the end of it. So going in, my character's probably gonna die. Or like playing horror games where you're like, my character's probably gonna die by the end of this. And going into with that knowledge, I think makes it a little bit easier. Also, Tag is mentioning their their newest game, which I'm assuming they're talking about
Fager.
Fager. Yeah, I was like, how do I say the name of the game? I don't remember. Yeah, Fager. Which is also
Yes.
like your character has like a day that they're
Play it
fated to
with
die.
me, Tig, then I will.
Tag will definitely run that for you.
It's a good game. Really good game.
I know there's plans for Tag to run it for Mila and Sierra and Taylor. So, if you want,
join us.
Because the whole conceit is that no matter what,
otherwise I will still
your character will die.
You're gonna die.
Yeah. It's like a Viking Viking story where it's like your character has like the day that they're fated to die, and like you have a certain number of dice that you can use, but once you use them they're like gone, and then once you're out of dice your character has like their final day. It's very, very cool. It's very like heavy metal.
Yeah, it does sound cool. I feel like if I was in like a consistent campaign where I could like choose my friends and like have a satisfying ending for my character as my like first character death, I would be like all for that. But those games where it's like, oh, you just rolled bad and your character can die at any time. I'm like, okay, sure, I guess.
I also think that's totally valid. Like, as much as I enjoy like having the potential for characters to die, I am in no way saying like you should like this too. Like, I think it's completely valid to be like, well, I think I'd like to have a world where my character doesn't die. I think that's totally legit.
Having a satisfying death is
having a satisfying
great.
death is good. Making your friends cry is great.
Yeah.
Melanie, you have another story to read to us.
I might have one little story, or maybe many eggs. I'll try to. Should I try to sum this up? This person kind of goes on for a little bit before we get to the meat of the thing.
You said it is like a not safe for work story, right? Because it's like
it's not safe for work. It's titled "The Starfinder Egg Orgy." I'll just read it as is and skip over things if I think that I need to. So basically, I've been running a Roll20 Starfinder game for the better part of a year. One thing to understand about this group is that I was the newcomer to the gaming group. Overall, the group consisted of 6 people plus me, but at the game's start, only 4 of them were involved. I knew only 2 of the players. We'll call them Brad and Larry. But I was good friends with them from other things, and both were perfectly good players. The other 2 players were a pair of newbies that we'll call Sean and George. They were actually really good. It was their second D&D game each. George was quiet, but he tried to role play and had fun when he did, while Sean was a natural role player. He played a failing movie starlet pretending to be undercover in a mercenary corps, and mid-game changed it to help bring to light helping bring to light to some really ugly issues in the world. Terrible writing. All without ever letting the party know that what was what. This will be important later. It sort of is. Up until the 8th month, the biggest issue we had was that our group consisted of 4 different time zones, with 3 different American time zones and 1 fella in Ireland. So our schedule was erratic as hell. But everything was going well despite that. The players were bouncing off of each other well and had really good chemistry to go along with their investment in the plot. Sort of a rebellion and corporate espionage thing. Larry had some family stuff happen, and he had to pull out of the game. No big deal, it happens. But without him, the party lacked any real meat, and things were about to get hairy in-game. So Brad suggests we invite the other remaining members of their friend circle. We'll call them Vicky and Vance. Now, at first, things were okay. They were both kind of lighthearted characters, but none of the players were exactly misery guts or anything. I don't know what misery guts means. It was a mature game, but it had its moments of levity. Then Sean's character's show dropped, and that's when the weird shit began. So I'm guessing his starlet character, the show started to air, is what that means.
Okay.
At this point, the party's publicity took a skyrocket, and they started getting invited to things. At first, I had it under control. I used it to introduce them to plot hooks and to give them some real shocks to the system, or whatever. But each time, Vicky and Vance basically made it a point to get trashed and make as much of a scene as possible. At first, I didn't mind. It was funny enough, and I was able to rope them in when needed. Then they, apropos of nothing during an interview about the show, announced they were going to be having an egg-focused party at Vance's pad. At first, I was just confused, but went with it. I intended for their next public showing to turn into an assassination attempt anyway, so this gave me an opportunity. But instead of it just being an oddly themed rave or whatever, it got really weird with them smearing eggs all over people, trying to get sensual with the eggs, trying to seduce NPCs on the dance floor by having them eat eggs out of the other person's mouth. Just fucking bizarre. The whole time, me and the other players are mortified and confused. We didn't even know what was going on. It took me 5 minutes of trying to get into a word in edgewise, eggwise,
Oh, I thought you
before
were
one
making
of
an
them.
edging joke.
I mean, before one of them started to describe sticking eggs in people's orifices, that I finally went screw it and had the assassins bust in to put an end to the whole sordid mess. Except that didn't end it.
An egg.
Because literally anytime the party had downtime, they tried to start another one. And after a couple weeks of just blitzing by their shit, they started going out of their way to derail the campaign. Anything stupid they could do during serious scenes, they did. Doing stand-up, throwing food at prisoners, sticking their tongues in electrical outlets.
What?
Final straw came when a major NPC died, and as Sean's character is cradling the corpse, Vicky chimed in with something like, "So, do you want the wake to be Mardi Gras or Chinese New Year themed? Cue Vance, or how about eggs?"
My God.
The rest of the post says that they finished the session, but after that they canceled it. They decided that even if they got rid of Vicky and Vance, the magic was lost. And then the guy talks about losing touch with the guy, Sean, who he really liked playing with. So, like, a bummer.
Oh, that is a bummer.
I will. Oh, go ahead.
No,
I know what my opinions are about it.
Which is you love it. Melanie, aka Vicky.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just gonna say that's a hell of a way to learn about your friend's egg fetish.
Yeah, that's so weird. Why was it eggs? Was it just like LOL random? Like,
I think so. It didn't sound like actually sexual. When I was trying to find egg-related stories to bring, I did find some that were, and I didn't feel comfortable bringing them.
send them to me.
It did sound like they had a lot of different theme parties, but that was certainly memorable.
Yeah, Mila said I thought it was gonna be more of a yoni like a yoni egg situation. Which I guess you said orifices, so
yeah, I mean,
point.
It almost was.
Yeah,
until the assassins burst in.
It's all fun and games, and then you start trying to put them in orifices.
That's really wild. This is not as wild as that. I think, Melanie, you probably already know about this, Avery. I don't think you do. And I can't remember if I've talked about it on the stream before, but in my home D&D game, we had a session that was at, like, the Wizarding University. And as, like, just kind of, like, a throwaway thing, I was like, oh, yeah, there's, like a cafe. Like, there's, like, different places that you can hang out to, like, talk about things, and there's, like, this cafe. And the player's like, oh, we all want to get breakfast at this little, like, and it was supposed to be, like, kind of like a Starbucks, basically, or, like, a campus cafe. So it's not, like, a full, like, menu or whatever. And I was like, oh, yeah, they have,
Taylor.
They have, yeah.
If you will remember, it was my character that took them there, and they asked what was there and what I recommended, and I told them egg pops.
Wait,
like
you?
cake pops. Yes, it was me.
I didn't think it was me. I thought somebody misspoke, and I totally did forget that it was you.
I told them that they have egg pops, which is like cake pops, but with an egg. A hard-boiled egg. Yeah, and they were like, is it dipped in chocolate? I'm like, some of them.
I can't believe I forgot that it was you. I didn't remember who it was. Like, I was like, I know I didn't do this. What I thought happened is someone misspoke, but yeah. So it was like, oh, they have like souffle egg bites, they have the like all this different stuff, whatever. And then yeah, Melanie said they have egg pops, and now egg pops are like. One of the other players was like, oh, that's the like delicacy where I come from, and I like them with like a little cinnamon or whatever. And so now everywhere they go, it's like a huge part of their like things that they like. They had to hire a chef for their ship. They were like on a pirate, not a pirate ship, but they were on a ship for a little while, and they had to hire the crew. And the way that they picked the chef was they went to like this hotel and that served egg pops, and they were like, we need to figure out who this person is and try to get them to work for us. And they like recruited this like 5-star chef who could make egg pops to like travel with them on the ship. And the funniest thing about all of it is that one of the players like, this is years ago. One of the players, we were in a session, and he was like, guys, I was mortified the other day because he went to Starbucks and he was trying to order cake pops. And he ordered egg pops. And the Starbucks person was like, what? And he was like, cake pops, cake pops. He accidentally ordered egg pops.
Starbucks isn't sophisticated enough to carry egg pops.
Tag in chat has reminded me that in our Wednesday game, I have made it canon that there is a little brunch place that we would go to called the Earl's Egg Cup, and we'd get like a hard-boiled egg in like an egg cup. And it's been a thing where we'll have hard-boiled eggs to
You
go.
have an egg fetish. You were Vicky.
Oh no!
You're the one who brought this up on this stream. You were like, I was looking for egg stories.
Because I thought it was for Easter. But really, my take from this story is that like they went too far, but I do relate to Vicky.
Eggs really are the funniest food. Yeah.
Oh no! The RPG horror story was coming from inside the house.
Coming from inside the egg.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I can't believe that. I'm so glad you reminded me that egg pops was you, because I had totally forgotten that.
You didn't forget right away, because I remember you telling me that it had led to
Yeah.
stuff in
Because
campaign.
that was probably like 3 or 4 years ago that happened.
Oh my god,
that campaign has been going on for so long.
Oh man. And I only guessed it once.
Yeah.
Surprise guess.
Yeah.
The impact.
The impact to make a person in real life ask for an egg cup at a Starbucks.
Egg pop.
So fucking egg pop. Yeah, sorry. I'm thinking about the egg cups.
I have so many eggs flowing through my mind. I
eggs.
can't keep them straight, and I am getting a little flustered thinking about it, actually.
Nothing sexual. Just
It's just hungry. I'm just hungry for eggs.
just hungry for eggs.
That's amazing. That's why eggs are devils, dude. Oh,
You've been corrupted by the egg.
Yeah.
Mike always says, there's like in one of the Land Before Time movies, there's like 2 like raptors or something that like want to eat eggs, and they have a little song where they're like, eggs. And Mike sings that all the time. I'll send it to you, Melanie, so you can sing it.
There's so many Land Before Time movies that it's hard. It would be hard to try to find that. I
have no idea which one it is. I can find the video out because Mike showed it to me before. All right. Before Melanie
Joanna
gets
with
too,
her eggs.
before Melanie gets too horny, I'll read on to the next story.
Too late.
This one is the one that I mentioned before. The title of the story is DM killed my first ever character in the first session of my first campaign for breaking his world by accident. I was a DM for friends in high school for 3 months, but had never played as a PC. That group ended when real life started again, and we all drifted apart. I missed D&D and thought I'd check out some website that lets DMs advertise games for people looking to play. I found one in the next city over since it was the only one in my area that used 5e and messaged the DM. He said he seemed cool and sent me his world info, which was a novel. I'm talking 60 plus pages of lore, of just lore, that he wanted everyone to memorize before session 0. Which I'm gonna go ahead and just say red flag.
Boo.
Red
Boo to
flag.
that.
Boo to
If
that.
I have to know anything going into a TTRPG game, I am not playing it.
Yeah, 60 pages of lore that you expect someone to memorize is a lot. It's fine to have 60 pages of lore. It's just a lot to have expect players to memorize.
Yeah.
He had a few other homebrew systems, including regional languages, which basically got rid of common and every other language and replaced them with a series of different languages based on countries. We do character creation in session 0, and everything seems to be fine until a certain point. I make a... we got another red flag. The DM... I made a human rogue, and by some miracle, I knew like 8 languages. The DM seemed upset because he wanted us to struggle with language barriers, even between the party members.
Why?
I know.
Whoa, hold on. Okay, time out.
Yeah.
DMs who don't make it easy for the party member, like for party members to be together and also players who do this, like there should be a reason why you're all together. There should be a reason why you have a common goal to do a thing. There, like, it can't be a thing where there's, lone wolves. It can't be a thing where you can't communicate with each other. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that. Being like, you all know different languages and you can't communicate with each other. It's like, what are we doing?
Are you together then?
Especially like 5e is essentially a strategy game, right? Like,
yeah.
Why would you...
You can't coordinate your attacks because you all speak different languages. Yeah. Okay, so the DM seemed upset because he wanted us to... he wanted us to struggle with language barriers, which is like saying a lot. Like, the DM wanted us to struggle, even between the party members. I asked him if I should change something, but he said it was fine and he will work around it. The first session starts, and fairly early on, I'm a bit annoyed as I have to translate for the party, and instead of letting me go, I translate. He wants me to repeat what everyone says, word for word,
damn it,
for each party member in their own language. I feel like I'm not getting to do much beyond being a parrot, and I'm feeling pretty discouraged.
That's why. First of all, why doesn't everyone know common?
About?
Yeah.
It's called common for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, this homebrew, he got rid of common. It's just languages based on countries. Also, they're not all from the same country. None of them are from the same country. Apparently, they're all from different countries. And it's like, no, player, you have to say to each other player, repeat the same thing over and over again. Terrible. Okay, so I'm not going to do much beyond being a parrot, feeling pretty discouraged. The big thing, though, was my inventory. The core idea of the world was that one day, all metal in the ground vanished, and because of that, any goods made of metal were worth some multiple extra depending on their material. It turned out that my starting inventory included steel ball bearings, because this person's a rogue. The DM, got super upset because it turned out each ball bearing was worth something like 1,000 gold pieces apiece. One of the other people suggested we reflavor them as amber or some natural material, but he told them the book said steel and he would just find a workaround. So the party gets to the first town and we split up. I find an inn and ask for a room. The DM describes how the innkeep locks me in a room that starts to get crazy hot. Seeing no option, I try to break out. Guards see me and decide I must be a criminal and give me a swift execution by fire with no save or any ability to do anything about it.
What?
The DM tells me he hopes I had a backup ready for the rest of the session. I had no idea what a backup was since this is my first time ever being a player. I feel like he was mad at me because my character broke his world and game idea. I was a brand new player that just wanted to play a silly little rogue, but instead got punished. I just called my dad to come pick me up early, and the next day emailed the DM saying I was starting college soon and wouldn't have time for his game.
Oh, this poor kid.
This is another DM that doesn't want to play a game. They want to be Tolkien. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my god.
that's wild.
That poor
Also,
kid.
players can't break your world because you are the world. Like, if a level 1 rogue can break the economy of your game, that's a skill issue. Like, that's not on the player.
Yeah.
Yeah. There it's not unreasonable to be like, okay, so this is the lore of the world that like metal is very rare. So even though a rogue would typically have these ball bearings, like that would be kind of crazy. You're like a kid with
Yeah.
you know, you wouldn't have this actually. So we're just gonna say that you don't. Like fix it
Or
that
that
way,
it's-
my guy. You don't need to kill this kid.
Yeah.
Also,
really.
the players were like, it can be this other thing. They don't have to be made of metal. And the DM was like, the book says they're metal. So they gotta be metal. The book doesn't say no metal exists in the world. You're making up your own other
You
thing.
made that up.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so crazy that the DM's guide says, by the way, there's no metal in the world, but then the players have all this
But
metal.
I have all this metal. Yeah.
Bad.
Whoop.
Oh my gosh. What
Sorry.
did you just put in front of your camera?
That was the sun catcher on
Oh.
my lines. I was trying to lower it because I was getting like a glare on me.
you duplicated yourself.
I can't. That's so fucking unhinged to be like, you. I don't like the things you want my players
Yeah.
to talk to each other. Yeah. So you say exactly that to him. Like you say it right now. What do they
Yeah.
hear? And it's like that's just in regular, like vanilla D&D. There's oftentimes a player who will speak a language that other players don't, and it is perfectly acceptable to then be like, okay, I tell everybody that to say
Yeah.
that is fine, and
Yeah.
it keeps the game from dragging on because we all have a
because
finite
all
amount
the
of time in
players
our
have
lives.
to listen to that speech twice in a row.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, such bad world building. So I didn't write this down, so I don't remember exactly the details. But people in the comments had a lot of questions, obviously, about like, what is this? Like, what is like this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. And the player OP said that like the languages thing was such a big part of the game to the point where like they went to the inn and like the innkeeper spoke one language, the maid spoke another language, and the cook or whatever spoke another language, but they didn't all three speak any of the same languages. And then people were like, that's not how the world is. Like, if you work in like a restaurant, there might be one person who speaks English, another person who speaks Spanish, but then there's probably other people who speak both. Like, you probably are not having an inn where all three people are speaking different languages and have no way of communicating with each other. You're all in the same country and you all work together. So people can speak more than one language. Like, commonly, people speak more than one language. Wild.
That is wild.
What are your theories for what was going on with the inn room getting hot? What do you think that innkeeper was doing and why?
It's a walk-in oven.
That's just the room for baking people. What do you mean? I thought all inns had that room.
Yeah.
It's like I remember one time going to a hotel, and it was a really old hotel, and there was like a dial in the bathroom that was for like a heat lamp. And it was like the first switch that I found, so I like turned the switch and immediately this red light came on in the bathroom and it was like warm, and I was like, why is this the light? Because I like didn't find another light. So I was almost this person. I almost jumped out the window. I'm getting cooked.
So, when I worked at Panera, and I'm sure that there's other places that have the same kind of setup, but their oven there, they have like the racks that they put things that they're baking on, and it would slot into like the oven was literally a walk-in oven where you could like push this thing into, and then it would go in and like rotate or whatever. Um, but it was my greatest fear of being like, Melanie, don't step in there. Melanie, don't do it. Like Call of the Void kind of stuff where you're like, don't go in there. Don't get caught in that walk-in oven, Melanie.
Yeah. And walk-in freezers. I feel like every TV show has that scene where someone gets trapped in a freezer.
Yes. Oh man,
no.
this is I don't now I'm like just flashing back to so many bad times at Panera of like that door is heavy to the walk-in freezer. So I would get in there and then be like, oh no, and I'm like throwing my weight to try to get
Oh my god. I wish the walk-in oven was in here, then maybe I could
Yeah.
I could walk in there for a little bit,
They would
walk
cancel
out.
each other out.
Just spin. Tay says they've been closed into a lock-in freezer before. Oh wait, you've been
No,
closed.
in
Wait,
an oven. They mean that. They mean an
what?
oven.
Also,
Yeah,
They
I'm
pushed it into an oven, an onion.
Yeah, they got in and then someone closed them in and was like, haha, and they both were having a good time.
And they both were baked like a little pie. That's wild. One of the things, which I was wondering if one of you would mention this, I didn't think of it when I was reading the story. But one of the comments on this thread says, "Weird how there's no metal, making it super valuable, but each ball bearing was worth 1,000 gold pieces, which is metal." So,
Idiot.
yeah. So they said, with gold also being a metal, how many gold pieces is a gold piece worth? What a poorly planned out idea. And then the OP responds and says he had this whole thing where people use leaves for money. So a gold piece was actually the special leaf from a special tree, and same for all the other coins, which if your economy is based on a plant that grows forever and ever, ... Like, that also kind of doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense.
That's a bad currency.
Did it say how old the DM is? Like, is this someone who was the same age as this kid who's about to go off to college, or is this is this
It
someone
doesn't
older?
say. I'm assuming it's someone older because it seems like they have like their own place. Because it was like, oh, it's this like neighboring city, but it doesn't say anywhere how old the DM is. I'm assuming not also a high schooler, but hard to say. Yeah, weird.
I feel
Weird
bad for
weird
that
story.
kid. When your first like D&D experience is like,
Yeah.
first
You
of all,
won't
so
usually
much
try
homework,
again.
and then
Yeah.
your DM does that.
I edited it out of the story because it wasn't like that relevant, but they did have a little paragraph at the end that they ended up like after, like at some point during college, they got back in touch with the friends that they had been playing D&D with and like played for a long time and had a good campaign. So they did eventually
That's
get
nice.
a
Okay,
good story.
that's good.
I feel better about that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
God, this is one of those DMs that just wants to write a story, but also he's a bad writer and like
Yeah.
probably shouldn't, right? Like,
And
you
probably
should just
shouldn't. Yeah.
keep
Yeah,
it to
You don't
yourself,
need
my
to
guy.
inflict your story on other people.
Yeah, I think it's fine to be a bad writer and write stories. I think once you're like kind of forcing it onto other people, like I think people should write even if they're bad at writing. But I don't think they should tell other people you have to be a part of this too.
I don't think this person should write. Even though I think they're not allowed. Actually,
Wow.
Actually, maybe
That
it was a
was
heat lamp, and they just thought the PC was a lizard, and they would like it.
Oh yeah, it's a lizard folk. They never mentioned.
Oh yeah.
But I was putting you in a
There's like,
habitat.
wait, no, I'm having a bad time.
I have to break out of this window. No,
it's okay. We didn't
it was a
talk about this, but
miscommunication.
the fact that the guards are like, this person's trying to break out, we immediately murder them. We immediately execution style murder them.
They're breaking out of a place. Yeah, it's like I guess that's technically a crime if you're like destroying property, but like You should be more worried about people breaking into places, right?
Yeah.
Breaking out of a place. Maybe
Are there
they're
any-
escaping.
I feel like as a fellow player, I would be like, I'm gonna take this all the way to the courts.
I would be like, wait a minute, I read the whole 60 pages of lore. I don't see a law that says you're not allowed to leave a locked room.
You're a public defender.
And I memorized it.
On page 43, it says...
It's actually in there.
It's actually in there.
The inside of a house is actually more protected than the outside. So.
Anyone may break into a location, but it is the breaking out where you will find your true riddle.
Everything's backwards here, and trees are money, and and up is down, and left is right, and you're dead now.
And dead is still dead.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the one rule of this world.
The last thing that this is not really a full story, but I was looking at r/RPG for like other resurrection stories, and I'll just read this one very quickly, and then we'll wrap up. It's not a story; it's talking about resurrection mechanics in games. And the comment says, "This is about interesting resurrection mechanics rather than an interesting resurrection story, but I thought it might still be appropriate here. There's a webcomic called Homestuck," and then I and then I stopped reading.
Never again. We can't keep doing this.
I have tried to learn about Homestuck so many times, and every time I've ever tried to take in any information about it, it's just like just glided over my brain, and none of it has gone inside.
That's what reading is like too. I've read all of it, and that's what it felt like at the end of it. Yeah, and by all of it, I haven't read like whatever stuff is happening now, but like the original stuff I did read.
There's still stuff happening.
Yeah,
I didn't know. It was
Whoa.
Yeah,
it
there's
like 10 years ago.
There's still stuff happening. I would love to play a Homestuck-based TTRPG. That would be very funny.
Let's fucking do it.
All right.
If I get to put on a little horn, I don't know which guy's who, but I want a little horn.
I barely do. And like I said, I did read them. And I barely know which troll is which. All right. So all the Homestuck heads, get at me if you want me to run a Homestuck one shot. And write a system for it. But barring that, we're gonna wrap up
true
the
resurrection of Easter, bringing Homestuck RPG back in 2024.
Can you imagine if like someone like just goes onto my stream and I have like painted gray and I have like ears?
Yes,
I can little horns.
I can vividly imagine this actually, and I want this to happen.
It's happening. If we hit the $100 donation for the PCRF, I'll do a Homestuck one shot. So before anyone can register that, let's do our outros. Melanie, what else do you have going on? Where can people find you? All that good stuff.
Oh man, my name's Ben, and will continue to be Melanie Andrews. I'm Lemony Drews on Instagram and Twitter. What do I have going on? Nothing. I'm just trying to survive out here, man. If you want, you should check out my partner's games on itch.io. Tag Lions. I mean, their new game Faker is going to be coming out. And Xavery is going to play it, so you know it's going to be good. What else? Candy Carpenter just dropped a new album, and she's pretty good. I think you should check it out if you were raised as a young girl. I think there's a lot of relatable things in it about eating disorders and liking boys, but also girls and religion.
What?
And there's good stuff in there.
What did you say?
As an option.
But also stuff about vampires. Oh god. There's things besides boys.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I'm gonna plug
We're getting a
things that aren't
divorce.
boys.
Things that aren't boys.
Savory, what about you? What do you have going on? Where can people find you? What do you have to plug?
I will shout out Peebs.
Peebs!
My sister's here. And my mom, who I think might still be watching. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, I saw she was in earlier.
I can be contacted by an intricate series of summoning rituals if you need to get at me. No, what else? Okay, this is the first announcement. I have been working on writing a game and like interactive novel-ish story, um, tentatively titled "How to Talk to Doctors If You Want to Live."
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
Wow.
If that doesn't come out by the end of the year, forget I said anything.
Oh man.
Wait, is something
can't reach
happening
it
at the end of the year?
No, I just have
hard
to
to
give
release
myself a
stuff.
deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have a podcast coming out this year. I don't know. It might have.
Hey,
I might have a Homestuck
and we
game coming
might
out this year.
play Homestuck. So we'll see.
That's super exciting. And yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Xavery's Twitter is in chat right now, so you can follow her and bug her about that project to make sure that it happens. That's what I'll be doing for the rest of the year. And I'm Taylor Felicity. You can find me online most places at Roll for Felicity, including on YouTube. I have previous episodes of Over the Table, 2 previous episodes on there, as well as all my previous one-shots. I was a little behind on uploads, so those are getting pushed out now weekly, actually. I've been trying to upload games weekly, and it's been working out pretty well. Also, I've been posting TikToks at the perfect time because it's about to be banned in the United States. But I gotta get some clout. So YouTube Shorts and TikToks, I've been editing stuff into vertical content. Isn't that great? And if you enjoyed this, I do already have my next Over the Table stream scheduled, which is going to be it's going to be a little while away, but on Saturday, April 27th, in the evening, I think it starts like 5:30, something like that, is going to be another episode with Madame Ava Couture and Kitty Stryker. At the end of the last time they were on, they were like, we thought these stories were going to be way nastier, we want nastier stories.
Give me the nasty ones.
So next episode is going to be the nasty one. So it's going to be a lot of stories where like crazy sex stuff is happening. Really, really nasty. A lot of nasty stuff because
I'll get you the egg fetish one for that. For
yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say the weird egg ones send me because that's the stream for it. Weirder egg ones. And also next Saturday, so a week from today, I am gonna be running a one-shot of a game called Goblin Errands that I'm really excited for. The cast for that's great. So stay tuned on various socials because I'll be posting who's gonna be on that stream. And then I've been getting back into my solo video game stream. So I've been playing Minecraft, and yesterday I did a crossword puzzle stream, so I'll be doing more of that. Right now, it seems like those are mostly on like Mondays and Fridays, so that's probably what it's going to be. I think that's everything. Let me see if there's someone live right now that I can raid. Where do I see this? Here. Oh, maybe not. Nobody that I follow is live now, so...
Mila, hurry! Start playing Hollow Knight.
Mila, go live now!
Mila. Shout out Mila, who's been teaching me about Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, nice, yeah.
What a good teacher.
Let me literally give a shout out to Mila.
Couldn't ask for a better
is this
one.
Right? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, people should follow Mila. Mila's great. They're not live right now, I don't think, but you should still follow them.
If they hurry.
Maybe if they get all set up really fast. All right. I think that's everything. Do you all have anything that you want to say to chat in the YouTube VOD before we're done, before we're gone?
It's been so real. It's been lovely being here with y'all. And accept Jesus into your Lord as your Lord and Savior into your heart. Were you there when
All
they
right, I'm cutting off.
crucified
Bye.
my Lord?